Good morning everyone, welcome back to the Nature Patch. It is a bit of a chilly morning this morning, but I thought I would come outside and share with you what the garden is looking like for the month of July. I realised I haven't really done a walkthrough or a tour of the garden in a while, so I thought today was the perfect opportunity. I know you all really enjoy garden tours and they're videos that I also really like to watch, so I hope you enjoy today's video. Family love. I am going to be walking around the garden with a cup of coffee because it's quite chilly and coffee is much needed this morning. But if you are new to the channel, thank you so much for joining and watching this video. My name is Robyn and I live here with my partner. We live on the south coast of New South Wales and we have just moved down here in February. So this garden behind me here is kind of about 6 months old or so, probably not even 6 months. And we garden on this property here, which used to be my Ulma and Ulpa's house. We grow veggies, herbs, native plants, create habitat for animals, and we are also starting a flower farm this year. So I'll take you around to all of the different sections of the garden and share some of my favorites of what's happening and a few updates of the garden. So this is a little bit of an overview of the garden here. This is one of the main gardens really. It's the one closest to the house right here, and I call this one my Permaculture Zone 1 garden. It's where we have a lot of our greens and herbs and a lot of beautiful things that also just make me happy, because I want to have all of these things close to the house so that I am not having to walk a long way, and so that I can just look outside and see this from my window. So some of the things that we have in here, I have a patch of broad beans here. These are a few months old now actually, or maybe 2 months old, and they're starting to reach out a bit. They're growing nicely, and I have just supported these with old corn stalks. I had corn growing here and I have just snipped off the stalks, and then I'm just using that as a support. So I'll probably tie some string around them maybe this week actually, just to give them a little bit more support, because we do get quite strong winds here. A little bit of a fail, but also not really. But the pak choi is going to seed here, but the bees absolutely love these, so I don't really mind. We have so much in the garden anyway, but this has been such a great staple for us to grow, to have fresh greens for our stir fries and soups and things like that. Behind here I have a row of poppies that kind of are planted throughout here. These are one of my favourite poppies, mainly because I love the foliage. I love how it looks, and I love it when it's planted really nice and close together. This is an orange poppy, and then in front of that, to contrast the colour, I have some lamb's ear, which is looking really, really beautiful this morning. The little purple and yellow flowers here, this is Linaria. This is a fairy bouquet mix, and I'm absolutely in love with it. If you're wanting to grow a cottage garden, this is definitely something that you need. The flowers are just so dainty and beautiful, and I really love the foliage as well. And that is going to look really nice next to all of these snapdragons that I have planted here. These were all planted about a month and a bit ago, and they have since just really bunched out and put off a lot of different shoots in different directions, because I ended up snipping them so that I'm going to get more blooms than rather just the one single bloom. I also just have a few other things like some garlic chives here, which is going to look really pretty when they all bunch out. I've got some oregano down the bottom. Finally have some tulips popping up. You can see in there, it's a little tulip. I've got marigolds. I have a row of coriander here that I planted just the other day, and I have some sticks there because we have a very naughty bandicoot that if you see any holes or random things throughout the garden, it's probably the bandicoot digging. I just have the sticks there just to prevent it digging up these really small little seedlings. Once they grow up a little bit, I can remove the sticks. We might go down this way here. I have some pots throughout the garden, and these ones were all of those spring bulbs that I planted. So these, I think there's tulips in here and they're yet to pop up, but I have some Ranunculus over there, more tulips down in that one, and then that really far back pot over there is some daffodils that I'll show you in a little bit. I've also got a few plants around here that I really need to plant. One of them I'm really excited for. I picked up a David Austin rose and I went for Grace. I think she's absolutely stunning, and the plant looks really healthy as well. This is just a small rounded shrub that, move you slowly, that I would love to plant right in here. And to fill up this area, I have a Crepe Myrtle planted just over here, which has purple leaves and kind of apricot-y flowers, and I think the Grace rose is going to look really pretty there. I've never grown roses before, actually. This is my first rose I have ever bought / grown, so if you have any recommendations on roses, I do have some rose food that I picked up, and I am going to be fertilizing and creating really well draining soil around it, but the blooms on this are just stunning, so I'm excited for that. A lot of this area, including the rose, isn't going to be for cut flowering, just for me to enjoy, and I need to really prioritize that in the garden because that's also super important for me to actually want to actually keep me gardening and keep me inspired. I also have some worm farms here. One of them we just use for our cat waste, and then the other one for kitchen waste. We have some compost tumblers over here, some more spring bulb pots here. You can see we have some hyacinths that are coming up in the little ones. I've got a ranunculus here and some anemones, which I think I saw, yeah. You can see one of the flower buds is starting to come out, and some more tulips in here. Tulips just a little bit later than the others. And then in here, it's a little bit messy, and I can see the bandicoot has done a nice little job at digging around last night. In here, we took out the Chinese broccoli, which was just falling over and flopping over everywhere, but in the place there, that's where I'm going to be planting the rose, just in this area. We have some gorgeous silver beet, so pretty and also so delicious. Silver beet is probably one of my favorite greens to grow in the garden, and in and around that I have some more coriander seedlings. I have some nemesia planted, which is a really pretty flower. I don't think any of them are coming out just yet, but they're about to flower. And I have calendula, a patch of strawberries here, which I definitely want to divide to create more strawberry patches. I have a row of random red onions there that I needed to get them in the ground. Behind them is some more stock, linaria here, some collards. I have a row of chrysanthemums down the back and some more stock over there. The zinnias are about to say goodbye, but I just really wanted to collect some seeds from these, so I'm letting some of them, like these ones here, go to seed. I have a little bit of celery planted down there, some lettuce, daffodils around the lettuce. I really love just planting flowers and herbs and greens all together. It just creates such a beautiful garden. I just really love this area. And coming back to that other first garden, I have some straw flowers planted in here, lots of kale, which we have been loving, some marigolds to help confuse bugs, one random poppy which just decided to flower the other day. This is from the ballerina mix, I think. Poppy. It's very delicate, very pretty. Not too sure why she's flowering now, but she is. I think the rain really did confuse a lot of the flowers and a lot of the plants in the garden. We have some more poppies and cool flowers and a really random radish. Okay, this is not normally, I don't normally let them get this big, but guys, I thought it was too funny not to have in the garden. So everyone who comes notices this radish and we have a little chat about it. What it's doing for me is bringing up nutrients from the garden or from below in the soil up to the surface, whilst also looking hilarious and yeah, pretty ridiculous. My hope was that I could save seeds from it, but it doesn't seem to want to go to seed. It just wants to keep growing. But moving on from the ridiculous radish, down in this area here, in this garden bed, it's mainly taken up with the tunnel of Ranunculus that I'm going to be using for cut flowers. They are all doing really well, but I don't see any flowers on them yet, but that is fine because they've still got probably another month or so before they start to bloom. This is just going to be a nice sea of rainbow here. I've also just got some more zinnias that I'd like to collect seed from, some tatsoi, calendula, lots more kale, my bay tree, and around the bay tree I had some more anemones planted. This one here is just about finishing flowering, but was a nice little pop of red colour in the garden. And next to the bay I have some Mizuna. It's beautiful purple foliage, which is really delicious in salads or stir fries. Some more stock there, which this hot pink colour is just beautiful. It's so ridiculously pink. I love it. I have a broccoli I really need to take out, but I'm just going to grab these last few little sprigs of the florets. And then a massive collard here. This is my hand. This is my hand. It's a bit hard to see the size, but it's massive. It's so big. So big, but so beautiful. And then the last little bed here, I'll start from the corner. We have one of my favourite pots here. This has some daffodils, some lettuce, some violas in it, and just looks so pretty. Behind it I have some poppies, some straw flowers over there. I have a kind of like a sprawling ground cover grevillea, calendula. Apologies for the dogs in the background, by the way. Some more daffodils, some more gorgeous tatsoi. That's actually, one of them is going to flower, which is okay because we have a lot. And then some more pak choi behind it. And then I have my boxes of flowers, which have more ranunculus in them. I've also got some rhubarb planted around here that I planted with Diane. I'm not sure if this video is coming out before or after, but Diane from Diane and Samson helped me plant some of the rhubarb there. And then down the back here I have my beautiful sea mist Melaleuca, which is surrounded by some snowdrops or snowflakes. I've heard people call them both of those, but this is just absolutely stunning and it's a beautiful native Australian plant. I think it's native to Western Australia, but is growing really well here. It grows really well in a little bit more moist soils, which is definitely what we have right now. So that's where that is over there. And then I have some lavender around the sides, which is really loving life right now. And just looks really beautiful around all of the other plants and flowers in this garden. So that is pretty much all of this garden here. If there's any plants or things that you've seen and I haven't covered what they are, just let me know the timestamp and I can tell you what they are. If I went through every plant in the whole garden, it would take me quite a few hours to do a garden tour, but it kind of gives you a little bit of a wrap up of this area. I'm going to take my coffee and we'll go for a walk down to the flower farm area and I will share how that's going, and then I'll wrap it up by sharing all of what my seedlings are looking like and what I'm going to be planting next over the coming weeks. It's definitely a gumboot weather kind of day again. It's really muddy down here, so brace yourselves for that. I haven't been able to get too much work done down this area because, hang on, I'll show you what I'm walking through right now. As you can see, very muddy, very disgusting, and you just cannot work the soil when it's this wet. It's just impossible. I don't know where to put my cup of coffee down. I also should not have worn light coloured jeans for this. This is a bad idea. So there's two main areas down here in the back area of the garden. You can see it's quite big. We do live on about half an acre or so. And I love the space. The thing is though, as it slopes down, the water table here has risen dramatically with all of this rain. And the ground, the rivers, the creeks are pretty much at 100% capacity, which means that the water table is rising and rising. And if I dig a hole in this area, it just fills up with water. So that's not ideal for flower farming or any farming really. But what I have been doing is actually just prioritizing planting a lot of native species which can handle really moist soils. So that's what I have planted all behind me here, and you'll see in different sections of this garden. I have areas down here, and all along this fence is going to be no dig gardens where I don't want any grass. So what I'm trying to do right now is to smother the grass, and gradually as I get more and more materials, I'm laying cardboard down and then overlaying that with things like mulch, garden clippings, leaves, grass clippings, whatever I can get my hands on. So it looks quite interesting right now, but I promise I do have a purpose and a vision for what this is going to turn out like, which is going to be just a really beautiful mulched area filled with native plants. And so I don't have to walk down there right now. I'm going to wait till maybe it's a little bit later in the day. I have things planted like leptospermums. They don't mind it nice and wet. Mat rushes, so your native grasses that kind of live more in swampy areas. They're really great to help to break up the soil, add in more organic matter, and let the soil drain a little bit. I've also got some Banksias. They're more of a coastal variety and they don't seem to mind the wet soils, which is good for me. The larger thryptomene is going pretty well. The smaller ones, not so much, because some of the holes are just filled with water right now. And some of the correas are also struggling a little bit. So I'm really hoping that we can just have another week of dry weather and this area can dry out a little bit, because the plants just are really struggling, and I think they're kind of at real tipping point really with all of this rain and water that we've been having. Okay, I'll move on slowly through the mud over to the flower farm area, which I have some exciting plans for this area, but I just haven't been able to get out here and actually do anything. So behind me you can see I have covered a lot of area with black plastic tarp just to kill the grass. This one right down here looks amazing underneath. I can't really see any grass on the top. I can see lots of worm castings on the surface, which is great. The only thing, again, when I'm forking the soil, it's filling up with water. So unfortunately, I have to just keep waiting a little bit for this area, unless I want to just pile up the compost on top of it, which I don't really want to do. I also really need to soil test this area, which again, I need to wait just a few more days, maybe just to get a little bit more dry soil so that I'm not sending off like just a whole bag of water basically, because I need to check for heavy metals in this area. And also if I have any deficiencies, particularly looking at things like boron, potassium and calcium are the main ones that I want to be checking in this area, as well as getting a really good pH reading. This is a little bit of a quick tour of what I do have in the beds here, and again, I'm sorry about the dogs. They're barking at the chickens next door. Not ideal. Currently I have 4 beds planted here. These beds are going to extend out here and be quite long rows when I can work the soil. And all of these beds are going to be expanding right down. These trees are actually coming out, these 2 citrus trees, just because they are so old and so sick. It's just too hard to maintain them right now. So the rows are just going to be extending right down to where that fire pit is. So it's going to be quite a sizable flower garden area with, I've got some feijoas planted along the fence line and some more woolly bushes over there. I'd also like to get some raspberries in and have a berry patch somewhere too. But for this area right now, I do have a row of beetroot planted, and again, I need to just maintain for the bandicoot. The beetroot is really struggling at the moment. It did a little bit better after I thinned it. Then we had all of that rain. You can kind of see it looks quite sad. And I'm suspecting that this is a problem with boron deficiencies or calcium deficiencies in this area, which is why I really need to get a soil test and see what's happening. I have some peas planted next to those and some cauliflower down the end. That is starting to get some heads. See in there. And then I have my rows of onions. So these are all red onions that are looking really nice. I have a few little flowers in here that I'm trying to protect from the bandicoot. Again, we are going to fence the area, but for now I've just got sticks around. These are some everlasting daisies, a tiny little cabbage that was shaded out by the other big cabbage that we had. The last of the broccoli. These are just little sprouting broccoli now that need to come out here and pick. And then this will just be flowers in here, probably plant some feverfew. And then I have another row of onions. These are all like brown, kind of gold onions. And then my ridiculous structure, which is protecting the cornflowers that I have planted in here that all got dug up by the bandicoot. And I'm having to just put this makeshift fence around it right now. It looks ridiculous, but we're actually going to be fencing kind of, you can see where the trees are next to the fence there. We want to fence off that area because I think that's where the bandicoot is coming from, and it's just too much money and effort to be dealing with the bandicoot digging everything up. So we really need to get on top of that. But this is the only real row that I have apart from the Ranunculus and other little tiny flowers that I have planted. And I want to be using a lot of these for drying these flowers, and I'm also just seeing how cornflowers grow in this area. You can see they're pretty small. A lot of people don't really seem to like cornflowers because of the harvesting time. I'm not going to be worrying about any of that this year because it is just my first year and I want to grow as many different varieties as I can just to see what grows well in this area. So it's definitely slow going in this area right now, but hopefully in the next few weeks we can get this done. I'm going to head back up to the other garden, and I will share with you what my seedlings are looking like and what I'm going to be planting over the next few weeks. Alright, it's now very sunny, so hopefully you can see this okay, but behind me here is my little table of all of my seedlings that I have planted. So this is all for the flower farm that I'm going to be planting over the next few weeks. These are more kind of cool flowers or don't mind cooler temperatures, and they're all looking really, really great, and I can't wait to get them in the ground. Alright, so I have this flat here. This is all flowers here. I have quite a lot of some swamp melaleuca I can't even remember what this is actually called. What have I got? Swamp paperbark, which is another native Australian plant that really doesn't mind moist soils. So I want to plant quite a few of these down the very back of the garden. I have some feverfew, which I'm going to plant where the broccoli was. Aquilegia, some sea holly. This is also called eryngium. Billy buttons, and lots of yarrow or achillea. This is just a mix here. They're looking so cute, so I can't wait to get these in the ground, and they're all looking just really, really healthy, which is a good sign that I did something right with this potting mix. I also have some lupins that I'm going to plant in more established garden beds. I have some native plants here from Whitbird Environmental, where I get a lot of my veggie and herb seeds from, and native plants. And I always have Jeff's information in the description box for a discount code if you would like to buy some seeds. And this is a half a flat of status as well. This is some pastel and white, I think, in here. Inside, I also have, I'll show you quickly, some Inside the garage here, this is my funky seed setup area where I have some of my seeds that I'm starting. I've got quite a lot of straw flower. The cats got in here. Not happy about that, but I have lots of little snapdragons popping up, some stock, some feverfew, and some asters, which are all popping up there. And then I have quite a few more snapdragons and some more feverfew in this area. I really need to sort out my seed starting area because with flower farming, you're starting so many seeds and I'm not there yet. I really do need to do a little bit of renovations downstairs so that I can have an indoor area for seed starting. All right, so that was pretty much a full garden tour of what the garden is looking like in July. I think it's currently the 12th of July that I'm filming this today. And I might get this out this week or on the weekend. I will see how my editing goes. But I wanted just to say a massive thank you for watching this video and also for everyone on Patreon as well, where I do upload extra videos, where I upload a little bit more personal videos and videos that you really want to see over on Patreon and a lot of other different content over there. So thank you so much for all of my Patreon members as well. Your support really means the world to me. I'm going to go inside, finish my cup of coffee and have some breakfast. I really hope you enjoyed today's garden tour. If you did, make sure to like this video and subscribe for lots more garden content. I hope you're all having a lovely day wherever you are in the world, and until my next video, happy gardening everyone. Bye.